Okay, I think we should be live here. Hello, and welcome to the 741 channel. Thank you for stopping by. I don't usually live stream. I'm not really comfortable with this format, but I force myself to do it once in a while anyway, just to do it, just in case I need to do it at some point. It's always good to stay in practice with things. So here we are. And I don't even really have an agenda. I just wanted to kind of go live and see who shows up in the chat, if anybody. And I don't know, we'll just talk about whatever comes up. So I'm looking over in the chat. I see the Smoking Ape is there. Great. One of the YouTubers bunch guys. So thanks for stopping by, Ape. Good to have you there. But yeah, really, I'm just hanging out in the radio room. You can see behind me, I've got SDR Uno up and running. Maybe what we can do here after is I can see if I can hear any of you guys. If you're set up on HF, I'll put this on and we'll listen for you. But for right now, I guess we'll just talk about stuff. And of course, the elephant in the room, of course, is the whole situation that we've got going on with the virus. So, I mean, first of all, I guess how is that impacting the lives of you guys and gals that are out there? For me, so far, it hasn't been a huge impact. Up until Friday, I was going back and forth to work like I normally would. The office was a little light on people, but for the most part, we were all there and nothing had really changed. My wife and my son are home. My son is 8 years old in third grade. And so they had closed the school starting last Monday. So she was home with them. And her company has mandated that she work from home. She works for a large insurance company, so that worked out for her. They've had minimal impact on their business, and even with my son and everything home, she's still been relatively productive, and everything is working there for her and her work schedule. In fact, maybe even better. She's able to even put in a little more time because she's not having to commute back and forth to the office and that kind of a thing. So Monday, my son starts distance learning, which I really have to give the teachers out there that are trying this tons of credit. They're totally retooling how they work and what they do, and without any kind of a script or a playbook to go from. And they're going to try this starting tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting. It's not going to be the same as being in a classroom, of course, but it's better than nothing. Now, as for myself, as I said, my work schedule really hadn't been impacted until Friday. The governor of Connecticut declared that he was asking all non-essential businesses to close. So the place that I work for is considered essential. It's an aerospace company, and we provide parts for the defense industry. So it's essential, but the company has come out and said that they want anybody that doesn't need to touch product or, be in the building working on a machine or something to attempt to work from home. So I've worked from home, in the past on occasion. I prefer to be in the office with everyone. We've got a real close-knit team, and it's good to interact with everybody live. And a lot of the guys I work with, they're just not into electronic communication. There's a few guys I work with don't even check their email, honestly, and it's hard to think of in this day and age, but they don't. And the only way to talk to them is live. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle, but for the most part, I think the team that I work with will adapt and we'll do fine. Things will just be a little hard to maneuver sometimes. Now, that's not to say I won't be going into the office at all. There are times when I need to go into the lab and work on some stuff, and in that case, I'll have to go in. But for the most part, I'll be working from home right from this spot starting tomorrow. So we'll see how that all goes. I've never worked from home for a long period of time, just a day here and a day there. I actually do all my overtime at home in the evenings, so I'm fairly used to it, but it's going to be strange to do it for a long period of time. But I have to say that I'm very thankful at this point that I'm still employed. I know a lot of you out there are really feeling the brunt of this because you can't work from home, the nature of your job or your business and that's a real tough thing. But anyway, that's what's on my mind at the moment. Let me check the chat and see who's in there. We already saw Smoking AP's in there. We got John Deere 620 up there in Maine. Thanks for stopping by. I know I was a little later today than I wanted to be, but like I told you, the boss man called. I wanted to do a few things to get ready for tomorrow. Let's see. We got the Bug Man in there. How you doing, Mark? I know we got to talk. I know you're about to start some new stuff, and I don't know if that got any impact from all this. Hopefully not. So John Deere 620 is saying the thing sucks, and yeah, he's concerned just like all of us about what's going to happen. Smoking Ape said he went to working from home last week, so that's good. If you're able to do it, that's good. It keeps you less exposed, and everybody else around you less exposed, I guess. I don't know. It's hard for me. I just I don't know. I like working with other people. I get more done that way, but it is what it is. We all have to do what we have to do at this point, I think. Let's see. The crazy Nordlander is in there. How you doing? Thanks for stopping in tonight. Let's see. What's he saying? Some of our schools in Minnesota are doing distance learning. Our friends in Kansas said the state called school off for the rest of the year. Yeah, I think each state is going to do something different, maybe even town by town. Even here in Connecticut, I don't know that all towns are doing the distance learning thing, but a lot of the ones around me here are. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, the teachers, give them credit. Give them a lot of credit for trying this. It's not going to be the same as sitting in the classroom with the kids, but at least they're going to get something out of it. It's too bad Kansas has called off the year. It's I think the kids would at least get something out of the distance learning, but if they don't have the resources or the ability, then maybe it would end up being worse. I don't know the situation out there. Let's see. Andy Cowley is in there. Thanks for stopping in. The C-19 nuts. As long as we all take care, I hope we will all be safe. Yeah, I agree. I think we all do need to take care, but there's a lot of overreaction going on out there, unfortunately. But if we all stay calm and stay positive, we'll all get through this. And 6 months from now, we're going to be looking back on it and have stories to tell. Hopefully, it's only 6 months, but we'll see. Let's see. Nordlander says his wife is working from home. That's good that she's able to do that. And let's see. Mark says no impact, so that's good. That's good. Yeah, we'll have to talk later. I assume tomorrow is the day, Mark. Let me know. Let's see. Oh, Dwayne's in here. My brother-in-law is here. Have fun working from home. I was wondering earlier, Dwayne, if you were going to be able to work from home or not. I know your wife has to go in because she works at an essential business, so that's good. But I wonder if they'll let you go back to working from home. Let's see. Philip is in here. Hello, Philip. And let's see. Mark is actually doing his thing tomorrow. Won't be able to work from home, obviously, there. And I've heard reports from that place that I know they're staying open. They are definitely a critical operation, and there's not too many people there that could probably work from home on a regular basis. But that's good. I'm glad that's going to work out. Let's see. Nordlander says he still plans on working at school since there will be no kids and little staff. Yeah, that's one benefit too. Even last week when I was going in, there were a lot of people not in the office. So it was a lot quieter than it usually is. I was able to get a little bit more done than usual. But at the same time, there were more interruptions, but that's was because of the normal cycle of things. But it was quieter and maybe a little easier to get things going. So yeah, go ahead, Mark, and give me a call later. Be interested to talk with you. I think there was something else that I wanted to ask you or run by you. Maybe I'll remember later. But yeah, anyway, I mean, that's just where we're at here. Just trying to hold down the fort, I guess, and keep doing what we're doing as normally as possible. As far as recreation goes for my wife and son and I, it hasn't really impacted us that much. We don't go out and do a lot of stuff in the public crowd anyway. we do a lot of stuff outside. We go walking in the trails and biking and that sort of a thing. We haven't done any biking yet this season, but we did go out walking yesterday and today. We took a ride but that's normally what we would do anyway. So not a huge impact, other than there's more people on the trails now, because people that would normally be doing other things are out on the trails or out, doing things. And as far as ham radio goes, it really hasn't impacted my ham radio either. I'm still kind of using it as I normally would, which is commuting back and forth to work, which obviously is going to change tomorrow. And then talking with, friends on the weekends and stuff on the local repeater. And then I chase POTA stations here and there, but I haven't been able to activate any just because I've been busy with work. So I've been working overtime, and that takes up some of my free time on the weekends. So no real impact there at the moment. But I'm wondering if any of you out there are impacted. Have you participated in anything different within ham radio, any different nets or preparedness things or any of that? Or have you curtailed your rag chewing, if you're a rag chewer, and cleared up space for other people? I don't see ham radio playing a huge part in this just yet, but I don't know if it will once things play out, because it's sort of a slow-moving emergency and slow-moving disaster. I don't know that there's a lot that we can provide. The infrastructure is still there and probably will be for the foreseeable future. So, so like I said, I don't think there's a huge need for ham radio operators to help at this point, but you never know. Things could change. Let's see. Andy says most of the UK is closed. Now that's interesting, Andy. I had heard at one point that the UK was not going to close, that they were going to keep things open and kind of run as normal. But I guess they've reversed that. Maybe you can tell me if I heard wrong, or if they had always planned to close, or if that was a recent development. Let's see. Mark is saying, tell us what we are seeing on the screen. The waterfall and the software that you see back there, Mark, is the SDR Uno software for the SDR Play radio. I don't know if I ever showed you that, but this thing here. So we may fire this up after I get done babbling or about all this stuff, and then we'll read through some of these comments, and then we'll fire this up. I don't know if anybody out there has HF and wants to see if I can hear them or not, but we can try that. So let's see. Dwayne is saying he's all set up so he could work from home. That's good. I'll be working at the office. You all be safe and healthy. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, Dwayne, I'd go in if I could, but they're telling us to stay home as much as possible. So I'm gonna comply, I guess, at least for the next couple of days, and see how it works. If things run slowly, I may go in. We've talked about that sometimes my applications that I need to run are slow, and if that's the case, I can probably justify going in. But for the moment, I'm going to set up to work from home too. But I'm glad that you're set up, Dwayne, in case something changes. Then that way you can stay home. Let's see. Andy says the SDR Play software. Let's see. Smoking Ape says he made his daughter help him cut and put up a new antenna today. That's a great project. 58-foot end fed on a 9-to-1 balun with a 15-foot counterpoise. That's great. My son, he's not all that interested in the radio stuff. He's helped me a little bit, though, with some of the stuff I've been messing around with. When I was kind of putting together antennas out in the yard, he was kind of messing around. But he goes off and does his own thing for the most part. We'll get him. We'll get him in the hobby at some point. He plays with my walkie-talkies once in a while, but we'll get him. I'm not going to force him to do it, because then he'll reject it. But we'll let him come to it on his own. But that's great that you had her helping you. That's cool. Let's see. John Deere says, seems 2-meter repeaters are a little more busy. Yeah, I think you're right. I think some people are maybe getting on a little more because they've got nothing else to do. I've noticed that too. I've heard some call signs on the repeater that I haven't either heard before or haven't heard in years. And that's good. It's good to hear people out there. Too bad that this is what's driving them back to the hobby in a way, but good that they're out there and testing their gear and just finding something else to do. A lot of us, we go through and we sort of get preoccupied with life sometimes, and ham radio takes a back burner. So I think for some people, their schedules are cleared. They don't have a lot going on. So they're rediscovering radios. They're pulling them out of the closet and checking to see if they work and finding that there's people still out there to talk to. So you're right. I think that I'm hearing a little more activity too. Let's see. Boris woke up. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Phil says the Smoking Ape, nice way to spend some family time. Yeah, I agree. Smoking Ape says 2-meter repeaters are busier too. Let's see. Nordlander says a lot of our restaurant businesses that can fix takeout. Excuse me. Oh, I'm supposed to cough into my elbow. You can fix takeout, like fast food and pizza, are still open, but dining rooms are closed. Skeleton staff, though. Same thing here in Connecticut. In fact, we went out yesterday on purpose to try and find a place that was, normally like a sit-down restaurant, but was given takeout. We went there purposely to get some lunch and help them keep going. We don't want to see any of these places fail. So we did that yesterday and today. We went out and did that. Can't eat out every day, but it's nice to try and help these businesses out a little bit when we can. Let's see. I lost my place. Oh, Hunter's in here. How you doing, Hunter? Haven't heard from you in a while. Got a Simplex net running with another local and my dad who got his license last year. That's awesome, Hunter. That's good to hear that you got that set up. I almost was up your way for the Ham Fest back in February, and I kind of wish I went. Excuse me, I got a cough in my elbow here again. But I didn't make it up there. I forgot what happened. I couldn't get up there that day. But I don't know if you went to that Ham Fest or not, but a couple of my local guys were up there. So good to hear that you've got things going up there in your neck of the woods, and especially that you get your dad into it. That's cool. Smoking Eve says she wasn't interested. Yeah, it's a good time to test your gear. It is too. That's a good point. Right now, while everything is still relatively calm, if you've got the gear to get out there and do POTA, or even just in your shack, if you've got backup power, things like that, it's a good time to shake that all down, because it doesn't seem like infrastructure is going to be an issue with this. But it could be. So it's always a good excuse to test what you've got in case you need it. Let's see. Phil says, excellent, Hunter. Yeah, I agree. See, Hunter says he's doing okay himself on the topic of the C19, but plenty of time to play radio. Yeah, I agree. I'd have more time to play radio too if I wasn't working all this overtime. We've got a big project going through, and I don't know that that's going to change for the moment. So I'll take the overtime when I can get it. They do pay us a little bit for it, so I'll take it. Let's see. Andy says, if they call the Army in, we will be called in to help. Yes, we are closed. All entertainment is closed. I've been doing a net on 2 meters to help all the older hams. Oh, that's good, Andy. That's a good thing, because especially the older hams that are in the radio, a lot of them are, they're locked down more so than the rest of us. At least here in Connecticut, there's no real restriction on us other than, what businesses are closed and what they're doing. But we can still move around. In fact, I've even seen posts on Facebook. The Connecticut State Park System is encouraging people to go out to the state parks and enjoy the parks. So we can still get out, but they're really recommending that the older folks stay at home, especially those that are kind of in, assisted living facilities that still drive and whatever, but there's not a lot that they can do. So some of them have radios. I have a friend right here across town. He lives in a, well, it's not really assisted living, but it's senior housing. He's got a beautiful apartment there, and he's got his radios set up, and right now this is the only form of entertainment that he's got, is getting on the radio. So I heard him on the repeater earlier, and he even runs HF out of the apartment. He's got some antenna options, and he's been doing a lot of that, which he normally does anyway, but now this is the only thing he can do. So that's a good point. If you can set up a net or support that and give those guys something to do to take their mind off of things, that's a great idea. Let's see, where am I? Let's see, Boris Johnson. He reversed the oh, okay, yeah, Boris. Okay, so I did hear that, right? I'm not up on my politics, so I don't know the players, but okay. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, I was wondering about that because I thought it was gonna be interesting to see if their method was gonna work any better or different or whatever than our method. But it sounds like they did a 180 on that. Let's see. Now's a good time to study for extra. I agree, Hunter. It's always a good time to study for extra or general or tech for that matter, anything. But if you've got the time, it's a great time to do it. Now that actually came up today. I don't know if any of you guys follow Twitter. Ape might have read this already, but some of the YouTuber bunch guys were talking on Twitter about that today, or the ability to have online testing rather, to kind of segue into that thought. So there's some interesting opinions out there. I think Sterling, another one of the YouTubers bunch, he's kind of been, I didn't read his blog, but he put a blog post up about that. And then there was discussion around online testing. I've got mixed feelings about it myself. I don't see that there's anything wrong with it really, but I don't know that I want it to replace in-person testing. Not that I think he's suggesting that, but it's nice to have options out there. So like I said, there was some discussion on that. I don't know what you guys think about that, if you think online testing is a good idea or not. If we had programs in place for that, people could right now during the downtime, they could study up and get their licenses if they wanted to, if they could take an online test. Because in most places now, a gathering of 10 or more people is off the table, which is, usually a ham radio testing session is going to be more than that. So going to be hard to get your ham radio license for the next month or two. So what do you guys think? Would online testing be something that you would like to see happen or support, or even, would you help kind of get that going? If you had the skill set to do some coding or whatever kind of a thing. I think I'm in favor of it, at least having it as an option. I don't want it to replace in-person testing, but it's nice to have the option for people to do that, I think. Let's see, where are we? That was a good time. So Paul Andrews is saying, hello, everyone. I just retired and is studying for his ham license. Going for general, wish me luck. Well, good luck. I'm sure you'll get it. Just read through. The test questions are not, I don't want to minimize it or anything. I don't think they're that hard. Some of them are just tedious and you got to memorize things. If you have an interest in electronics and an interest in radio, I think some of the technical questions will come, to most people because of their interest in the hobby. It's the rules and regulations stuff, at least for me, that was hard to memorize, because really you just have to know that stuff, and it's kind of dry material. But once you get through it, you'll get it, and you'll have a ton of fun, on the air. I've been licensed since '92, and it's been a big part of my life ever since then. It's a great resource. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of great people in the hobby. So I highly encourage people getting into it and getting involved with it, because I think you can get a lot out of it. Let's see. Okay, so Nordlander says, any MCOM plan for amateurs in CT? Excuse me, I'm not sure. I'm not really in the MCOM arena of ham radio. It's not something that I've participated much in, so I don't know the gist of it. I know there's a couple of guys on my local repeater that are into some of that stuff, but I haven't heard them talking about anything formal just yet. They may have stepped up some of their practices and whatnot a little bit, but there's nothing organized at this point. I know that some of the EOCs have come online if needed, but there's nothing really happening that I know of. If anybody else out there knows, feel free to chime in. But at this point, I don't see anything really out of the ordinary happening. And then, Brian says he's going to start his extra as well. Yeah, go for it. A lot of people will tell you, go for the test. Take the technician exam. If you pass it, take the general. And if you pass that, take the extra. Why not? You've got nothing to lose but $15 or whatever they charge for the test these days. So go for it. Let's see. John Deere 620 says, I feel like cheating may take place. I know everyone would be an extra instantly. That's a good point, and I hadn't thought about that, but it would be easier to cheat unless there's some kind of way to come up with a robust way to know that it's you. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. I think I know where you're going with that, where you could just, go for a test session and, you're a new ham or you're a prospective ham and you go to take the test. And then you've got your buddy who's a, extra class license since 1967 comes in and, just answers the questions for you. So yeah, that is a concern. That is a concern that would have to be figured out at some point or somehow. I think that's an excellent point. Let's see. Smoking Ape says anything we can do to get more people involved in the hobby is a good thing. I agree with that to a certain extent. I don't want to bring in just warm bodies per se. I like to bring in people that are interested in some aspect of the hobby, whether it be the technical or the MCOM or whatever. But I agree. The more people we can expose to it and bring in that are going to participate, the better. Definitely. Let's see. Hunter says, just got to work on getting my mom to let me install a radio in her car. Yeah, that's always a tough one. But it's good to have a radio in the car, but it's not strictly necessary. You can use your HT in a mag mount. Maybe she'll let you do that. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes the HTs can be a bit distracting. As far as like distracted driving and that kind of a thing. So you want to be careful with that. So yeah, maybe a hard installation is better, but you'll get there. I know the shoes you're in. I remember that when I was 16 and I wanted to put a CB radio in my dad's car, but he talked me out of it, and it was probably the right thing to do at that age anyway. Let's see. Andy says the UK we do online tests for service people. That's interesting. What do you mean service people? Is that ham radio people or for some other kind of service? Let's see. Martin says, sorry, but general in the US is easy. In the Netherlands, the questions are not known and we need to calculate it all. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. In fact, I've heard, people say that in other countries. The license is a lot harder. And I know here it used to be too. But again, I think you got to look at that and kind of weigh it out. Ham radio is a great hobby, and there's a lot of aspects of it. And I don't think you want to tailor it just for people with engineering minds, because I think there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily know the hardcore radio theory, but can still be good operators and can still be good stewards of their equipment and know when it's working properly and when it's not working properly and that sort of thing. And they don't necessarily need to know the hardcore engineering formulas and things like that. I think that used to scare a lot of people away. Now, I mean, you can kind of look at that two ways. You're sort of vetting the population. You don't want just everybody to get on ham radio, because then it turns into, CB radio, which is a free-for-all. You do want to have the tests be sort of a screen to make sure that there's people with some level of proficiency and interest and that are going to take it seriously. And you've got to kind of balance that. Now, is the US tests a little too easy? Maybe not. Again, I don't know. I haven't looked at the question pool in a while for general, so I'm not sure what's there and what's not at this point. A little bit of radio theory is probably prudent for general, since you're going to be on HF and talking worldwide. But I don't know that it needs to be strictly that hard. Maybe save that for the extra exam. I kind of agree with you there. Maybe the extra exam here in the US should be a little more challenging. And you have to work a little harder for it to get that extra privilege and really show that you're at that level. But I think you can get some good generals with I don't want to say a fairly easy test, but a test that's more mainstream and encompasses people of different backgrounds, I guess. Let's see. So John Deere says we don't need more 7200 types. Yeah, I agree. I don't really listen to 7200, but I know what you're talking about. Let's see. Hunter says I'll get there. I'm gonna hop off and go play around on the radio. 73 Hunter, thanks for stopping in. Stay safe and happy hamming. Yeah, thanks for jumping in there, Hunter. And one day we'll hook up on the air here. We're not that far away. We got to figure it out. let's see, Army, Navy, oh, Royal Air. Okay, so you're talking about military service. They can take their online test. That's interesting. I don't know what we do here. I'm not in the armed services, never was, and I don't have any close friends that are, so I'm not sure on that. Maybe somebody out there does. Let's see, Nordlander says he felt like I was cheating because of the veteran amateurs that were at the test session that said they drove hundreds of miles to the closest field offices and had to take their tests and code tests. Yeah, I agree. I've heard those stories too. There we go, coughing again. I've heard those stories too. People around here in northeastern Connecticut used to have to drive to Boston to get your test, and that all changed. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a sign of the times. I think they realized that if they kept that up, we weren't going to get any hams in the hobby. But also with the VEC program, which I don't know a lot about the history of that. It makes it a lot easier. You don't need the government administering the test. It's all done locally and whatnot. And of course, there's a lot of opportunity there for cheating and everything, like we were talking about earlier. But generally, it doesn't happen. I think if you're a ham that's serious enough to go get your VE certification, you're not going to bend the rules too much for people. So I think that program has worked out pretty well. I will say that nowadays too, I mean, everybody's got their story. I know when I got licensed in 92, I took the test locally. I only had to drive, I don't know, whatever it is, 30, 40 miles away. The club at the time that was giving the tests up in Massachusetts, and took my test there, but I had to wait 3 months to get my ticket. I think I took the test in late September, and I didn't get the ticket until mid-December or something like that of 92. So nowadays it's almost instant. I don't even know, what is it, like a day or two that you have to wait. Maybe now right now it's not that quick because of the stuff going on, but yeah. I wouldn't say you feel like you're cheating, but definitely the older guys always like to tell those stories of hardship and stuff, and we have it so easy, but things are different now, and that's all there is, I guess. Let's see, Martin says, I understand every country is different. Yeah, it's hard to know. Let's see. Yeah, do I have the Rona? No, I don't know. I don't know. We talked about that a little bit. I was sick back in February, and it sure seemed like I had all the symptoms, but I don't know. Probably not. So we'll just play it safe. Let's see. The VEs here are definitely serious and no nonsense. Yeah, they're definitely serious here too. There's a group, the group I got my technician license with up in Massachusetts. They've been doing it forever. There's the same group is still doing the testing now to this day, and they do a very good test session. They put on classes and stuff now too. I got my technician with them back in 92, and then I got my extra with them back in 2011 or 2012, something like that. I think it was 2012 that I got, and I went through their testing session, and it was just as good as it was in 92. When I got my general, I actually got my general at the ARRL headquarters. I took the test through the Newington Amateur Radio Club. They were sponsoring the test, but they did it at the league headquarters building. So they were definitely no nonsense. I was when I got my general, I had to copy code at that point. That was 2003 or 2, something like that, 2003. I think, and you still had to receive code for general back then, and yeah, they didn't fool around with that. I was able to get it, but it was close. I don't want to say he almost failed me, but I had a few mistakes, and he made sure to point it out, and it was well run. But of course, you would expect that. Like I said, even though it wasn't the ARRL giving the test, they were doing it at the building, so they had some standards to live up to there. So let's see. Nordlander, every country has that kind of amateur radio people. They all think before it was better because then you had to learn CW as example. Yeah, and that's another topic in ham radio that comes up. Some people say if you're not doing CW, you're not doing real ham radio. I completely disagree with that. There's so much out there now. I don't want to say CW is irrelevant. It's not. It's another mode, and people enjoy doing it. I used to enjoy it too. I never could send. I had a straight key, and I have bad coordination, hand-eye coordination. I was never good at video games either, but I was trying to practice sending. I had the oscillator and whatnot, and I just couldn't get the hang of sending. But I had fun receiving. For a while, I had my shortwave radio on my nightstand, and this is when I was single, by the way. I would listen to Morse code as I fell asleep. And I was getting good at receiving it. I was trying to get to the point where I could just copy it in my head without having to write it down. And I was starting to get there a little bit, but then, life changed and got distracted, and I haven't used it since, so I've completely forgot it. One of these days I'd like to relearn it. But there's so many facets of ham radio out there that you can do besides CW that are just as challenging. Technical stuff or whatever, or even just operating. When the CW requirement was there, it scared off a lot of good operators. So I'm glad that they dropped it. In a way, I kind of wish they kept it for extra. Like I said before, I think extra really should be an elite license, and there should be at least some code requirement for extra. I kind of wish it was there, but I'm not gonna get too hard about that. It's not that big a deal, but it would kind of be nice to see that, or even another license class that has that, or even just a certificate or something, so that the people that do CW have something that they can be proud of. But at the same time, like your point is, we shouldn't have them hold it in over people's heads either. We don't want that. Let's see, Martin says, I think be happy that people go for a license. In the Netherlands, we have about 30,000 ham radio operators of 17 million people. And again, Martin, that's great that your tests are hard, but I'm wondering if part of it is that your tests are scaring away people. But again, I don't know your situation over there. So that might be part of it. I think that was some of it here in the States. That's why they dropped CW and made the tests a little bit easier just to get the numbers up. But I don't know that should be the focus necessarily, bringing the numbers up. We want quality operators, and we want interested operators. All too often lately, you see people get their license and then never operate, or never go to a club meeting, or never participate in any way. They just kind of get their license and forget about it. We don't want that either. You want some level of participation, whether it be on the air or in a club, or just having interest in talking to people about it. Let's see. Nordlander says tech was 180 miles one way, general and extra was only 120 miles one way for me. Yeah, I don't know exactly where you are, Nordlander. I know you're out there in the upper Midwest, so I bet you got some driving to do. Let's see, we can only test 2 times a year in the country. Wow, that's another limiting factor too, Martin. I guess if your test sessions are limited, that's going to make it harder for people too. Martin says he has the novice currently, which means 2 meters, 70 centimeters, some 40 meter, and some 20 meter, up for full license in September. Well, that'll be good. Hopefully you can upgrade and get your full privileges. Let's see. Nordlander says, hi, just got a notice on my YouTube feed from a channel. Let's go learn Morse code. Well, there you go. Oh, that's Sterling's, right? Yeah, I think he's the one doing that. So maybe I ought to wrap this up. I don't know if we overlap at all anyway, but yeah, he's been learning Morse code, and he's been live streaming that. So if you guys are interested in that, you should check it out. Drove over 60 for my tech in general, 2 different. Yeah, so people still have to drive. I know the clubs sometimes are kind of scattered, the ones that are giving the tests anyway. So sometimes you do still have to drive. Let's see. Martin says we have 2 licenses, novice and full. Novice is like your technician with a small part of 20 and 40. Full is the same as extra. Okay, well, hopefully you can get your full, like you said, when the test comes around. I'm sure you'll get it if you've been studying up. Let's see. I thought extra was the easiest because I was actually starting to catch on after getting an HF radio. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Once you get into radio and you really start playing and practicing, it does get easier because you're using it on a daily basis. I mean, that's the case with anything, really. I found that, even in my personal experience, when I went to college, I learned all this stuff, and then, it was hard to really apply it. And then when I went back for night classes years later, it was cool because I really understood what I was learning, and then I could go to work the next day and put into practice things I was learning. So same applies for ham radio. The more you use it, the easier it becomes, even the harder concepts. Let's see. John Deere says, sorry, trying to smile. Yeah. Let's see. Philip says, my only CW contact was with my dad while I was a Tech Plus. I was in Kansas and he was in Milwaukee. My speed picked up a lot during that QSO. Well, that's cool that you were able to work your dad on CW. My dad never got his license. He's the reason I have mine, but he never got his. He was an avid listener. And I've told this story other places, maybe on this channel, I don't know, but he had an old shortwave radio in the kitchen, and when I was growing up, it was on all the time, especially the 80-meter AM guys. He loved listening to those guys, and that's primarily what he listened to was ham radio stuff. He didn't really listen to shortwave that much, but he's the one that really encouraged me and everything. But he never got his license. We started kind of studying a little bit for it, but he never went, and then as he got older, he just couldn't anymore. So yeah, whatever. But that's great that you were able to work your dad. It's always fun to keep it in the family. It's kind of cool that my sister went and got her license. I guess it's almost 10 years ago now, and my brother-in-law too. So I'm able to talk to them on the radio and play radio with them. It's always cool to have it in the family. And a lot of my friends had it. Mark was in here. He and I have been on the radio together forever. We met on the radio. So it's great for that. Let's see. Temporary offline is in there. My tests were a few hours away. Yeah, so people are still driving. Minnesota is flyover land. Well, it depends. I was in, I don't know, did I ever set foot in Minnesota? I don't think I did. I had to go out there for work one time. I flew to Fargo and went to a place in North Dakota, but I don't think I ever went over to the Minnesota side. I just didn't have time. So I technically flew over it, I guess, into Fargo. Let's see. Crazy Northern, 80% of ham radio licenses are held by 60 plus people. It's not like the US that families get licenses. Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of older people that get it here too. One of the things with ham radio is, I think a lot of people are interested in it, but they don't necessarily have the time to devote to it because they have other hobbies and things that they're interested in. And if you're working, it's a lot. So a lot of people hold off, and then when they retire, they get licensed. In America anyway. But there's a lot of people now, younger people, that are starting to get into it too. So that I think we're starting to see the demographics change a little bit, even though right now it's still a little on the older side here. But I think some of this YouTube stuff is really helping to draw in younger people. I think they're getting interested in it, and we're starting to see that demographic shift a little bit here too. Not that there's anything wrong with having older people in the hobby. It is what it is. I learn a lot from the older people, especially the ones that have been licensed for a long time. But even the ones that haven't, they may not know a lot about radio, but they get in the hobby and you talk with them, and you can learn a lot about life from them. So it's great to have a mix, I think, of new and old in the hobby. Let's see. Looks like you've got 30 minutes to go for Sterling live stream. Oh, okay, so he doesn't come on for another 30. Okay, well, I'm going to probably wrap this up before that anyway. That shouldn't be an issue. I've got some things I got to do here before it gets too much later. Let's see, the Smoking Ape says he's not sure I've caught on yet. Well, I think we'll all get there at some point. Let's see. No, oh, Norm's in there. How you doing, Norm? That's why I'm studying, but waiting until I've got some time logged on HF before taking extra again. So Norm, we haven't talked in a while, but I'm curious if how your setup has been. We still have to work each other. I've got to get up on the Paxton repeater. I'm presuming that you still haven't been able to get into the Bears repeater, so we'll have to try and make a contact here, even if we schedule it. I'm working from home now, at least for the next little while. So maybe during the day, lunchtime or something, I can meet you on the air. And for the moment, I have to point out to everybody that it's 7:41 p.m. here on the East Coast. So, which is sort of one of the reasons my channel is named that, because every time I look at the clock, it's 7:41, whether it's AM or PM. It's kind of a running joke in the family, and that's one of the reasons the channel has the name. But anyway, so going back to the comments, so we talked to Norm. Okay, Radio Wild's in there. How you doing, Bob? Good to hear you. Those New England AMers are still entertaining. They are. They're definitely good. I haven't listened in a while, but Tim Tron and the gang, they're still going strong. But back in the 80s and 90s, there was an interesting crew. There was a guy down your way, Radio Wild, that my dad used to love to listen to, Herb, W2VJZ. He was quite a character. Anybody who's ever listened to AM, 80 meters AM back then would know Herb. He was a fascinating guy, and I grew up listening to him. Definitely a character. Let's see, smoking. I was talking about where is the power switch and what do I speak into? Oh, okay. Let's see. Just in time. How you doing? Just in time. Let's see, Brian says, good call, Norm. Yeah, definitely good to listen. And I always tell people that are getting interested in radio that it's always good to listen as much as you can before you transmit and kind of learn the ropes. Not that there's necessarily a lot of things that you have to do on ham radio. It's another thing I try and tell people is don't get too hung up on the protocol. It brings up a good story. We've got a guy on the repeater here that he likes to yell at new people. I mean, he just comes on and gives them a hard time and scares them away, and then you never hear him again. And they might do something as silly as give their call phonetically on the repeater. And he'll read them their riot act for that, telling them that you're not supposed to give your call phonetically on a repeater. It's not necessary, blah, 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 blah. You know, no, it doesn't matter. As long as you get on the radio and have some fun and follow the rules, don't swear, you know, that kind of a thing, you're okay. There are certain, you know, ways of speaking in protocol. Take your turn, wait for the beep on a repeater, and, you know, things on HF that you need to kind of know. But for the most part, I think most hams are pretty easygoing, and guys like that are the exception. But it's always good to listen, if for no other reason, to know that there's guys like that out there and not let them intimidate you into not getting on the air. So yeah, it's good to listen and get the protocol down and the terminology and all that sort of thing. But don't be afraid to jump on either, Norm. You know, we all were new at one point and made mistakes or indiscretions. So, and don't let that bother you or stop you. But listening is always good. Let's see. The old buzzards know a lot of stuff. Yeah, the old buzzards. I wonder if they still have the. Well, I won't say it because I'll probably get demonetized if I haven't already. But there used to be a net that the Timtron would run, and it was called the complaining and moaning net, but the complaining was a different word. So, but there's something else to listen to. I don't know if I could listen to them all day like I used to when I was a kid, but or like my dad did. But if you want some entertainment, tune down to 3885, especially if you're in New England. Let's see. Norm says, anytime, just let me know. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe not tomorrow because we're still kind of getting sorted out, but sometime later in the week, I'll send you an email. If you don't hear from me, send me one, and we'll do some kind of a lunchtime on the air thing. I'll meet you up on the Paxton repeater or something, and at least say that we made a contact. Let's see, WWV 741 on your dial. Yeah, let's see. I went to his funeral. Oh, you did? Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess you knew Herb or knew of him anyway. That was something. That was I never met the guy. I never talked to him on the air either. I didn't have my general. Oh, I think he was already passed. I don't know what year he passed in, but I would have been too afraid to get on the AM stuff anyway. But it certainly was a shock to me when he passed because listening to him was, I grew up listening to that guy, and it's kind of like when your favorite celebrity passes away or something like that. Not that he was a celebrity, but that was a sad day for me in a way. Let's see. John Deere says last time I saw Timtron, he was in a leather kilt, and I asked if he had on undies. He said nope. Airing out the scrot. That's his lingo. God, he is a little on the edge. I have to tell you, I don't know, I can't tell if it's in the shot or not. I know I'm kind of small on the screen. This Elecraft back here, I won that radio at Nearfest back in 2013. And I always say that this radio was blessed by the Timtron because he's the one that called me to tell me I won it. So he had his hands on this radio. So this is a famous radio. He's given it the blessing, so to speak. Well, he didn't have his hands on the radio because it was a kit. I had to build it, but he touched the box, and his aura is in that radio. So I've got to keep it here since Timtron has breathed on it, so to speak. So let's see. Kyle's in. How you doing, Kyle? Thanks for stopping in. I decided to do a last minute live stream here, Kyle. I'm not a live streamer by any stretch. I don't really even like doing it, but every now and then I force myself to, just to kind of stay in practice and just to do it. I didn't upload a video this week, so I figured I'd do this instead. I was tied up with other things, as you can well imagine. Let's see, Radio Wild says Timtron could not take him because he used the Holocrafters S20. That was as wide a receiver as he'd key up every. Yeah, I remember. the complaining and about the equipment and stuff that they had, and they always used to get on Herb's case about stuff. But I remember the wind chimes too. That used to drive people nuts. He'd key up and he'd just have the wind chimes in the background just to hold the frequency, and he'd be making his oatmeal in the background or doing something, and he'd go on for hours with that, and he'd just chime the chimes every so often or whatever, just to hold the frequency. Good old Herb. My dad, it was funny, my dad used to send him letters and stuff, and sometimes Herb would read them on the air. That was, my dad got a kick out of that. One time we even took an old, somebody dumped a TV on the side of the road over here, an old tube style TV. This is back in the late 80s or early 90s. My dad took the whole thing apart, part by part. And he took all the components out of it, resistors, capacitors, tubes, transformers, whatever. And he put it in a huge box, well, 2 huge boxes. And he mailed half of it to Herb down in New Jersey. And he mailed the other half to this other guy up in Vermont that talked at the time. Maybe you know his call, Bob. What was his name? K1 something. He was in Vermont. And him and Herb would talk a lot. But anyway, my dad mailed different care packages to each one of them. And I remember I was sitting in the kitchen with my dad the day that they got the packages, or at least Herb anyway. And they were afraid to open it. They thought it was a bomb or something. And he's on the air describing how he's opening it. And then he's slowly peeling it out. And he saw the electronics and he stopped and thought, oh my God, there's a bomb in here. So it was funny. But those were the good old days. Like I said, my dad never had his license and could talk to those guys, but he sure had a lot of fun with them. Let's see. So Philip says, no phonetics on a repeater. 2 of my local nets insist on it. Yeah, it's kind of a long story, Phil. Same here. The traffic nets require the phonetics, and to be honest with you, who cares? Say the phonetics if you want to. But this other guy, he's bugged by it. I don't know why that bothers him so much, but you give your phonetics on the air and it drives him nuts. Who cares, if the net wants it, they want it. And there's sometimes, like my call, N1NUG. I can't tell you how many times people think that I say N1MUG, just the way I pronounce it or whatever. So I give my call phonetically even on the repeater, especially to somebody new that I haven't talked to before, because, then they'll know what my call is. I had one guy get it wrong. I was just talking on the repeater and the guy was listening to me, and he got my call wrong. He looked me up on QRZ, N1MUG doesn't exist, and he got on the air and told me I was violating FCC rules, that I wasn't a licensed ham, and read me the Riot Act, and he just heard my call wrong. So nothing wrong with phonetics, but yeah, this guy, there's always one somewhere that spoils the party, and that's this guy. He does other things, but the phonetics is one of them. Let's see. Norm says buzzards. Yeah, I don't know, Norm, if you've heard that term before, but these guys, they get on 80 meters AM, 75 meters AM, whatever it is, and they'll talk for hours. And what'll happen is one guy will key up and talk for 20 minutes. I don't know if they still do this, but back in the day they did. They would just talk for 20 minutes, just a stream of consciousness, not unlike what I'm doing right now. And then they would unkey, and the other guy would talk for 20, 30 minutes. You'd almost have to have a notebook to jot down all the bullet points that they were talking about so you could respond to them and give your 2 cents. And, there'd be 3, 4 guys in there at once doing this. And they're kind of known as old buzzard transmissions, and they called them old buzzards because a lot of times they were older guys, nothing better to do but sit and talk on the radio all day. And, that's what they would do. So that's the old buzzards. Yes, the PNM net. Radio Wild's got it. I'm not going to say the first word in case I get demonetized. So you guys can read it in the chat. The PNM net. I wonder if it's still there. Hey, Sterling's in there. I didn't realize that your stream is probably coming up here soon, so I'm going to end so that we don't step on your stream. But I was telling everybody earlier that if they want to learn Morse code, they got to go check your stream out, because we were talking about that earlier in the stream. So let's see. I'm getting behind on the chat here. Andy says, I like the boat anchor net. Yeah, there's a lot of nets out there. I was in here a little while ago, earlier this afternoon, and I heard the Drake net on. I like listening to that sometimes. Radio Wild says he knew him pretty good. Wow, that's cool. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I was hoping that I could get down to Sussex this summer and finally meet you, Radio Wild, but I don't know if that's going to happen now, given everything that's going on. So, but if they still have Sussex and I can get away, I'm going to head down and I'm going to shake your hand, or at least do the elbow bump or whatever we're doing these days. Let's see, Radio Wild. Yeah, the wind chimes. Yep. Let's see, how's it going? Okay, good here so far. Okay, those guys are talking to each other. Repeater nets like to hear phonetics since they are generally busy and don't want to ask for repeats. Agreed. General repeater traffic is no issue. And again, even general repeater traffic, if you want to use phonetics, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to. It's a good way to practice it, so that when you do get on a net, you know it. A lot of people don't know that coming into ham radio, so it's a good way to practice. Let's see. Was his call Sergeant? I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Philip, let's see. Hi, 7:30 CST tonight. Going to get back to Morse code. Yeah, okay. So you're going to be on, about a half an hour your time. It's 7:30's come and gone here on the East Coast, but yeah, we'll clear off of here in a little bit so that we don't interfere with Sterling's stream. Let's see. Did their rigs get buried with some of these guys? I wonder. Maybe Bob knows what happened to Herb's radios. I think they had didn't they have a big auction at the house, or a sale where people could just go into the house and walk through? I thought I heard that. I don't know how much equipment that Herb had, but yeah, I think in his case they just auctioned everything off somehow right at the house, if memory serves. And then some of these other things, yeah, they end up getting buried, or they just go to some family member that doesn't know what they are, kind of a thing. There's guys that buy up estates, all the time, that kind of a thing. Let's see, other rigs. Give your call in verbal CW then. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think we're gonna have to do that next time that guy gets going. He's kind of calmed down over the last couple of months. I haven't heard him get too worked up about anything. But if he starts up again, I'm gonna do that. I'll write it down on a piece of paper if I have to. Let's see. Herb used to make his own homemade maple syrup. I remember that on his property, and thought local children how they get it from the trees. Yeah, I remember some of that now, the maple syrup. And I know he used to spend time up in Vermont. I don't know if he had a place up there or whatever, and he would go up there in the summer and he would ride his bike all around. I almost talked to him on a local repeater one time. I went up to hike a mountain up there when I was younger in my 20s. I used to go up to New Hampshire, and I would hike just by myself. No, I wasn't able to get anybody to come with me for whatever reason. So I would go hike the White Mountains, and I would bring my HT with me. And I remember I had the Mount Washington repeater programmed in, and I was on the backside of Mount Lafayette, and I could hear the repeater, and I heard Herb come on the repeater. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's, the king of the AM net. Here he is on a FM repeater up here in New Hampshire. I couldn't get to the repeater. I was behind the mountain. And by the time I got high enough up on the mountain to be able to hit the repeater, Herb had cleared off and gone somewhere else. But I was this close to talking to him. But yeah, he used to ride around on his bike everywhere too. I remember that. And then he got arrested a few times for not paying taxes, I think, didn't he? So he certainly had his philosophies and views. Let's see, the guy who said you were violating. Oh, yeah, no, he's. I'll keep his call and his name off here just in case. But I think he's a good guy in his heart. I think he wants what he thinks is best for the hobby. I think he's just a little misguided. But yeah, there are some names for him that people have called him behind his back. We'll keep those offline. Let's see, temporary offline. Oh, okay, so he's given us the Morse code there. So Radio Wild said there was an auction on his property. And then, yeah, the old-fashioned tag sale. Yeah, well, that's what we call them here in Connecticut. The yard sales and the garage sales are tag sales. I don't think they're called that anywhere else in the country, but Connecticut and Western Massachusetts. Now everybody's doing Morse code in the chat. The W2QW repeater. Is that, well, okay, so was that a repeater down in New Jersey that he was on? Okay, 7-3 Norm. Yeah, we'll talk some point this week. Thanks for stopping in, Norm. Good to hear you on there. But anyway, yeah, I've been going for a while here. I think I'm going to pull the plug too. My voice is starting to get hoarse. I don't usually talk this much. So I think I'm going to run along. And we never did anything with the radio here. I guess before I go, I don't know if anybody's got an HF rig fired up, if they want to test and see if I can hear them or not, kind of a thing. I just thought that might be fun to try. So if you've got an HF rig and you want to pick a frequency, let me know, and I'll fire up SDR Uno here, and we'll see if we can hear you over the live stream. But other than that, I don't have a ton going on. I kind of said all the stuff at the beginning. The working from home thing. The state of Connecticut is now closed, and well, not completely closed, but non-essential. People are being asked to stay home, so that's going to be interesting. As I said, I'm going to be working from home, and I'll have the radios on here in the background. I'm going to try and focus on my work, but I'll be listening during the day, and maybe at lunchtime or something I can jump on and make a few contacts or chase a little bit of POTA or something. And UG, love your channel. Hey, I appreciate you joining in here. I have fun making the videos. I just kind of tinker around here. It's kind of an aimless thing, but I'm glad people are enjoying it, because it makes it worth doing, I guess. So Radio Wild is saying W2QW was the closest to his home in Liberty Corner. It's 10 minutes away from his QTH. Okay. So yeah, of course I never heard that repeater, but I know when he would come up to Vermont, he would get on the repeaters up there, I guess, and run 2 meters, which was kind of interesting. I think Timtron even does too sometimes, I've heard. So Nordlander says, sure, what frequency? And then John Deere says a frequency too. Same in California. Let's see. POTA was busy today. Yeah, it was. I worked a couple of POTA stations. I chased them from the shack here. During the day, I had a few minutes. I'd come down to get something, and if I did, I'd quick jump on and make a contact. We did take a ride. I was out of town for a few hours today, but like I said, when I'm in the shack on the weekends, if I've got 5-10 minutes, I'll chase a couple POTA stations, and that's that. And today was no different. But yeah, there was a lot on. It was a nice day, at least here in New England. It was a little chilly, but I don't know how it was the rest of the country. But I was going to turn that radio on, but I've got this one set up, so we'll pick a frequency. I don't know, what band do you guys think? Maybe 40 is going to be our best bet. Nordlander's out there in Minnesota, so let's see. We'll do this. We'll put it on 40. We'll hit play. I'll turn the volume down a bit. Guys, let me know if the volume on that's too loud or too soft, and we'll see what happens. Let's see, 7250. How about 7241? I'm hearing a little something there. Let's see. There's some noise there. I don't know. What do you guys think? 7243. No, I'm getting some. I don't know. No, there's something there. Let's go up a little bit. Maybe I don't know, 7250. Let's try that. If anybody wants to fire up on 7250. Somebody's tuning there. So let's see what we get. Let's see. Non-essential businesses are called people working from home if they can. Yeah, that's where we're at now too. My business is considered essential, but they've told us that anybody that doesn't need to be involved in manufacturing should work from home. And most of the time I don't need to be in manufacturing or in the lab, so I'm going to work from home if I'm able. Let's see. Temporary offline. I'm waiting for better weather. Oh, somebody's got a big signal just fired up right below 7250, but we'll leave it there for now. Let's see. Waiting for better weather for POTA here. Top 35 degrees today. It wasn't much warmer here. Well, we were on the other side of the state. It was a little chillier over there, but I think it got up to around 40 something here. I'm not sure. So still a little chilly to be logging by hand anyway. Get up in the 50s won't be too bad. Let's see. Free America says 73s from Quantico. Well, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you joining us tonight. We're just kind of messing around in the shack here. Temporary offline is going to run 7-3. Thanks for stopping in. We'll look for you again here soon. Andy says 73 from 2EORE East. Thanks for stopping in, Andy, from the UK. It was good having you on. Okay, sound level seems okay. 73. So if anybody's excuse me, there's the C19 acting up again. If anybody's at 7250, feel free to give me a shout here, even though somebody's right there below. Tried twice on 72, too close for 40. Yeah, it seems like that's the case. We're always too close. I'll leave it here for a minute just to see if Nordlander gets in. If we hear him. But if not, we'll switch over to 80. We should be able to hear you on 80. We'll see. Or if anybody else is on 7250. Like I said, there's some station right there strong that's kind of bleeding over. So we'll kind of hold that for a minute and see. But yeah, let's see. What else? I haven't really done a lot with the SDR play here in the last couple of months. Just been fooling with other things. But I do enjoy this. Oops, somebody's there. I don't know if that was a tune-up or what that was. But this is a great little piece of kit that I need to use more often. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do, and then the newer the RSP DX. I have to look at it to remember. It's a great radio for VLF. Somebody's whistling there. It's a great radio for VLF and that kind of a thing. I'm hearing somebody. Somebody's trying to come in there, but I don't know what that is. Well, anyway, I guess we're probably not going to get anybody on 7250 here. So let me jump down to 80, at least, so John Deere can get in there. We should be able to hear him. So let's click over. Find a frequency might be hard to do. Let's go. Whoops, I keep screwing up my mouse here. All right, we got a clear spot there. 3867 looks kind of clear, if that's clear for you. Yeah, that guy was a lid, right? Let's see. Oh, I have the RSP2. Need to figure out a good antenna for it. You know, what I found is pretty much anything works for these, at least for me. I've run mine off of a piece of wire just on a lawn chair, and it seems to work okay. Let's see. AD60M is in. Howdy, N1NUG and Hams. Hello, thanks for stopping in. We're just here on 80. I'm just going to listen and see if we can hear anybody, just to see if they can, if we can hear them on the stream, so they can hear what their radio sounds like. Let's see. We got a local guy here. Okay. So let's see. We're just waiting to see if anybody can join in. I know there's a bit of a lag. I'm not sure how many seconds it is between reality and what you guys are seeing. Oh, there he is. Heard you good. You're coming in nice and strong. Try it again. I sort of missed it, but nice and strong. So maybe after this is over, I'll jump on 80 and we can talk for a bit. I'll have to run upstairs first and see what's going on, but maybe we can just get on the air for a bit if anybody else is in New England or whatever.
Yeah, King George 1 Zulu. There's a huge delay, Rob, probably 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 30 seconds at least, probably. Wish it was a little more real time. That's what makes it tough with kind of the radio stuff. I didn't want to fire up the transmitter here for certain reasons, but we'll do that at some point. I'll do an actual live net where I'm transmitting too, and we'll try it that way once maybe we have better band conditions, or I can do it during the day when 20 is open and maybe work some of you guys further out, kind of a thing. Let's see. We both agree that we're in lockdown and we need to stay home. So how do VSOs do it? Not sure what a VSO is. I'm trying to think of what that acronym would be, but yeah, I don't know that we're in lockdown, but I know we're in, definitely restricted mode for sure. It's a little frustrating, but I don't know. Maybe it's the best thing to do. Maybe it's not. I guess we'll see. We'll find out on the other side of this thing. But okay, I think what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to jump out of here. I got to go get something to drink. My throat's starting to dry out and get sore. So it was good talking with all of you. I appreciate everybody joining in on the live stream. As I said a couple times, I'm not much of a live streamer, but I didn't post a video this week, so I felt I would just jump in here and see what happened. I do have a video teed up for tomorrow, but it's a car repair video, so it's not really a ham radio one. But I throw those up every now and then because those are what pay the bills, so to speak. So I have fun with the ham radio stuff, but the car repair videos enable the ham radio. Somebody else is in there. I wasn't sure who that was. If that was you, John Deere, or if it was someone else. Let's see. I don't think we're calling it lockdown yet. No, it's not lockdown yet. It's what did the governor of Connecticut call it? Stay home and stay safe. That's the politically correct term for it, I guess. But yeah, hopefully it never gets to that point. Let's see, Phil. Hey, Phil, thanks for stopping in. It's always good to see you on these live chats. I know you like to participate in those. So I'm glad you jumped over on mine too. It's always good to have a lot of people in here in the chat. That's what makes it fun. Okay, Dennis, it's good to hear from you. Good to hear from you too. 7-3, thanks for jumping in. Nordlander, thanks for doing this. Yeah, you're welcome. Maybe I'll do it more often and I'll get more comfortable with it. Kind of like we were talking earlier in the stream with ham radio itself. The more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it. So.
From KC2NBG. Do you copy, Rob?
Yeah, KC2NBG was in there. I think that's what you said. We heard you there. You'll hear yourself on the stream in a little bit. So we got you on the stream. Nice strong signal. So that's good. Oh, Billy's in. Billy's on. Oh, that must have been Billy. Okay, I didn't know your call. Or I didn't remember it anyway. But yeah, you're not too far away. Let's see. Call Cannon, very cool live stream. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for stopping in. Jason, thanks for stopping in from Ohio. Gene, Dallas, Texas, shelter in place. Okay. Yeah, we're all kind of in this together. I don't know. It's going to be a tough few weeks. Definitely have some stories to tell. I'll tell you, I do. I wouldn't say I was brought up for this, but my dad certainly prepared me for it with my upbringing. We'll just put it that way. It's kind of a long story, but it's times like this when I think back to my dad and the things that he taught me, and it makes times like this more bearable. So anyway, let's see. John Deere says, give him something to do rather than focus on the Rona. Yeah, you know, we were talking about it a bit, but sometimes it's good to just kind of talk about it and then talk about other things just to get it all off of our chests. Let's see, in New Jersey, we're isolated. Yeah, it's a different name in every place, but it's the same thing at the end of the day, I guess. We have a lot of back roads. We can sneak around out here. You know, surprisingly, this part of Connecticut, we have more back roads here than you'd think, too. And I'm lucky I live sort of in the middle of a state forest, so, you know, I can go walk around in the woods if I want to, if nothing else. So, Billy, yeah, quite the delay. I know it's kind of long. So, let's see. Sterling, thanks for allowing me to listen into your musings. Hands are full from doing laundry, but I'm a big fan. Keep out. I'm a big fan of yours too, Sterling. I got to read your blog post fully. I saw the Twitter exchange. We were talking about that a little bit on the beginning of the live feed. And it's an interesting topic that you've brought up. It's definitely worth exploring. So I'm glad that somebody's having the conversation. Let's see. Hello from Torrington. Hey, Danny, I was out your way this afternoon. My wife and I took a ride out to Campbell Falls. We decided to get out of the house. My wife's been in the house since last weekend. She's been working from home and stuck home with my son. So we all decided to take a ride out your way. Campbell Falls and we were in Winstead. We had lunch in Winstead. Takeout, of course, but we were out there. Nice part of the state. I like it out there. Let's see. You can get out, walk, etc. without seeing too many people. Go to the store when it's not crowded and give people plenty of room. Same thing here. Let's see. Billy says, I'll be hanging out on 80 until about 9. Walking Dead is on. I never got into the Walking Dead, but given the situation, maybe I got to get caught up. And then watching the Andromeda Strain. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff out there that we're all going to be watching now. Get caught up on some of that stuff. But okay, guys, I'm going to pull a plug. Like I said, I got to go get something to drink here before my throat falls out. And everybody, Sterling's stream is coming up next. So check out his channel. He's in the chat, N0SSC. Like we mentioned a couple times, he's doing Morse code. So if you guys are interested in that, you might want to tune in and check it out. So 7-3 for now. I'm going to go get something to drink. I'm going to check in with the wife. And I'll throw the ICOM on 3867 here. And maybe we can do a rag chew or something on the air. Those of us that can hear each other here in the Northeast anyway. But no guarantees. I'm not sure what I'm going to get into when I get upstairs. I could get derailed. You guys know how that goes. Okay, 7-3. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. It was a lot of fun. And you guys in the chat make it easier for me to do the live streams because it gives me something to talk about. And I guess until next time, 7-3, stay safe and, you know, we're all in this together, and we've all got ham radio at least to keep us occupied. So thanks again.